speaking of deliciousness, this is sourdough bread that Chris Honey made, and it's nutty and it's delicious. I said, could you make me a wheat
Wow.
version with lots of nuts and fiber in it? And she did.
No,
So I'm just
no.
going to eat this.
Wheat and
Mm-hmm.
fiber do not belong in sourdough bread. I'm
Mm,
throwing spears. That is bullshit.
it's so good. So good.
It's like vegetables don't belong on pizza. These are fucking line crossers.
Mm.
Like, you shouldn't have wheat in sourdough bread.
The Hollow Buddy. And we all feel hollow sometimes.
Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Hollow Bunny Leadership Podcast. I'm Kristen Zeman, and I'm here with my ever curious and effortlessly eloquent co-host. And do you see how uneloquent I said that?
You kind of said it like, yeah.
Effortlessly eloquent co-host Sylvia Moyer. We are former police chiefs, which means that we spent a lot of years pretending that we didn't need help. And even now that old habit sneaks back in. And that's what this episode is about. It is about something leaders and humans struggle with far more than we admit. And that is asking for help. Because Sylvia, twice, I found myself in moments where help arrived only because of timing, not because someone asked for help, not because I asked, but it was pure luck. And that is what I want to talk about this week. The two moments that hit the same nerve for me. And I'll just quickly outline them, and maybe you can diagnose this and help me out. But moment one, I checked in on a friend, and she said that I caught her in a very low moment. And I didn't know that. I was just checking in on her, the buddy check thing. How you doing? And she said, can you take a call? And she's like, it's funny that you popped in on me. And she said,
Wow.
I'm really having a very low moment. And I ended up staying on the phone with her well past my bedtime. And you know how serious I take my bedtime.
That's a big
It's
deal.
it's a really big deal. And I'll tell you what, I wouldn't have wanted to be anywhere else but to be on the phone with her. And she needed help, but she didn't ask. And then that got me thinking about literally the day before. I was sitting as I do every morning, my morning routine. I'm sitting in my office and I am grappling with something that is coming at me from three different directions. And I was really struggling. And my friend called and she's like, hey, I'm just on my way to work and I just wanted to check in with you. And she found me wrestling with this something that I didn't know how to solve. And she helped me through it. I didn't ask. I knew I needed help in that moment, but I didn't ask for it. So I had this realization in that both moments were accidental lifelines. Both were
Oh
meaningful
boy.
and both were born from timing rather than intention. And the obvious question that I have is, why didn't either of us say something sooner? What is wrong with us? Why don't we ask for help?
A number of reasons. First of all, it's compelling that you reached out, right? It's compelling that you just send out a random buddy check and she was ready to receive it. Says a lot about both of you. She was ready to be vulnerable with you and say, I am struggling. So people often struggle to reach out because of this complex mix of social, emotional, psychological barriers, right? We don't reach out because of those barriers. There's a stigma, there's social expectation, you're afraid of judgment, rejection. We talk a lot about this because we've talked about, quite strongly. We talked about vulnerability recently, and that's hard. It is hard because it comes with a lot of stuff. So you're asking the question, why don't we reach out? I think it's a number of things. It depends on to whom we reach out. So we can speak personally. I know there are different people in my life that are good at different things. If I want a kick in the ass, a little tenderness as a sprinkle, but a definite kick in the ass, I call you. It's the challenge network. It is, well, let's just focus actually on why don't people reach out?
Well, no. But I like what you were saying. But I also want to go back to something because in a previous episode, we talked about vulnerability, and it was interesting because you actually had some energy around that conversation
Yeah.
about being vulnerable. And did you say too much or reveal too much? And what's so interesting is that episode I've gotten the most feedback about because it is the most real. It's because you went genuinely beneath the surface and talked about this idea of how fearful we are to be vulnerable with other people because we don't know how it's going to be received, and what a risk that is to put yourself out there. So I think we need to add that to the list of why we don't ask for help.
Oh,
I think there are different reasons that different people, and so that's a big one though, right?
right. And so my primary barrier is a belief, an overbelief in my self-reliance. And coupled with, I don't want to be a
Mm,
drag to my people. And so those are the two that I struggle with. I struggled with
yeah.
in my personal life, struggle with in my professional life. I believe, over believe in my self reliance that I can handle my stuff by, you know, my dad. Here's the funny thing: your dad was a Marine, my dad was a Marine. We grew up with suck it up and drive on. You're a Moyer, act like it. Don't act like you have
Yeah.
sand in your pants. It was
Yep.
like, tough it up, right? So some of that is a belief, over belief in self reliance. Some of it is, I don't want to be a drag, a consistent drag. The so how d- w- how
Wait, just wait. I
people's
don't want you to
barriers
go
are
past.
different.
Yes, I don't want you to go past that first one that you just said because that one didn't even occur to me. Like for me, I will tell you the reasons that I don't ask for help.
Please.
It's a few things. It's um a fear of burdening others. I don't want to pile onto someone else's day,
Yeah.
even though, and this is the paradox of it,
Yeah.
is that we would gladly take on the burdens of anyone that we love, that we care about when they ask. So but that's my problem. It's a fear of
Right.
burdening others. And my second thing is control. Asking for help means letting someone into my mess, into this thing I'm grappling with. But I want to go back because I don't want anyone to glaze over that. What you just talked about, Sil, was identity. And high performers believe that competence means self-sufficiency. And
Hmm.
it's wrapped up into your identity, into my identity. I hadn't even thought about that because
Yeah.
we were raised in the same way. It's like,
Yep.
don't be a little titty baby.
Okay. What my dad said to me, don't
Hmm.
act like you have sand in your, I said pants. He said it differently. Mr. Mensa,
Yeah.
engineer, poet, musician. Like he was amazing. But he also raised me to be tough. You're a Moyer, act like it. You're a Zeman, act like it. Your dad said to
Yeah.
you, and you expose this for everybody. This barrier for you was, look, never let them see you weak.
That's right.
Exposure, it
Hmm.
was weakness. So
Yeah.
breaking through that, right?
Hmm.
Breaking through that.
Yeah.
And so I've really, okay, I'm struggling with this thing, right? I, when leaders, some people say, oh, gosh, my chief at this funeral really cried. He really, during the eulogy, he cried. He really felt it. I struggle with being okay with that. I feel like a
Hmm.
monster because I think, fuck it, come on, suck it up, bro. Let's do this. You can feel all the feels. You can feel all that, but you stay present for your people. You can be authentic and genuine without breaking down. I'm still grappling with some judgment around a lot of that.
Yeah. And I think that comes from, again, that identity that we have, that we were taught by our fathers, is that it's low competence, that if you show any kind of feeling, that equates automatically to weakness. But the problem with that, so, well, first of all, you said two things there, that it was sincerity, and I forgot the other thing, but I almost feel like sometimes it may be performative, and that's where the disconnect is. If something is performative, then we can see through that right away. If
Hmm.
somebody feigns, sensitivity or sincerity, then again, that's performative, and we sniff that out immediately, and we are turned off. It's not authentic, and so I think that the leadership angle here is that it's actually that asking for help or that show of vulnerability that builds psychological safety, that builds engagement, that builds trust, because no
Okay.
leader can pretend to have all the answers, nor can they pretend to be a robot with no feelings. And so I think there's a time and a place for that. I think that if it happens over and over, then people might question, okay, what's going on here? But, I think once again, that's the paradox of it. And why we don't ask for help, but it actually strengthens connection, and it's actually an act of trust. And
It
so I don't know,
is.
maybe explore that. So I think that may be an anomaly for someone who is performative in their showing vulnerability.
Oh, sure. And you brought out this thing that I want to talk about, and that is identity. We've explored this before. Um, I attach identity to the change you want to make,
Hmm.
right? And in this space, asking for help to attach identity to the change you want to make is often argued by James Clear and others as essential. You talked about it earlier, like I am a healthy eater, I think is what you said. I am a I am a CrossFitter. I am a whatever that identity is. And then the change and shift and loss of identities also create grapple. You and I have talked about this before. I was on the track to do the world's major marathons. Boston, Chicago, New York, London, Berlin, and Tokyo. That's like a cool thing, right? That I really wanted to do. And I was partway through that and had completed several. But then I was told, you are not a runner
Yeah.
because of a health thing. And that loss of identity caused me to be introspective, caused me to really grapple with, if not a runner, who am I? Right?
Yeah.
Some people will grapple with this. I am a police chief, right? The loss of that identity causes them to lose standing, causes them to lose their equilibrium. And to identify, as Colin Powell said, don't confuse self and role. And that is a really important thing when we're talking about I am self reliant, I am strong,
Hmm.
I am courageous, I am, those are identities. And so I think one of the things that we really need to urge people to do is in their journaling, perhaps write down my identities are, and write down I am a person who will reach out. I am courageous and, right? Would that
Think
help?
of Yeah, but think about how this identity not only shapes us, but how it molds the people for whom we are setting an example. So for
Okay.
instance, you said I called it identity, but you said, this is what my father taught me. Don't ever let them see you weak. And as we said, it grapples with this sense of competence, and we feel incompetent, and reliant on other people versus self-sufficient, right? Okay, so now think about in terms of what our fathers did to us. Now, I have spoke about this publicly. I wrote about it in my book. My father taught me not to ask for help. And he literally instilled in me that asking help was weak. My father killed himself.
Oh
And
boy.
so he was wrong. He was wrong. So now think about that and what we do when leaders model self reliance to the extreme. We're teaching our teams to struggle in silence.
For
So
sure.
when by not asking for help, and again, he was wrong, and I know that now, and I wish he could have seen, and I think that's the paradox of this whole idea why we don't ask for help. Pride comes into it as well.
Mm,
Leaders are conditioned to power through. I'm conditioned to power through, just drill down
yeah.
and get it done. And admitting that I need help feels like I'm surrendering. And I don't want that feeling of surrender ever. I am gritty
Okay.
and I am resilient. And so it's pride, it's fear of burdening others, it's identity, it's shame. Perhaps I should already know the answer to this. We've dealt with this a lot where we have reoccurring problems come up where I don't want to call my friend and burden them with the same topic because I should already know what to do. So shame is part of it. And then, as I think I said, control before, asking for help
Yeah.
then reveals to other people that, I'm not as put together, or maybe, I'm a little more messier than I put out into the world, right? All of that.
What you just revealed and what you revealed so strongly in your book is a big deal. And I can't imagine the struggle that you had and the suffering that you had by really wondering what led to that with your dad. And I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so this identity, this sense of identity, how we understand ourselves, how we define ourselves, this is fundamental to how we engage with self and in the world. And it it's really making a compelling argument to figure out how identity is formed, how it's crucial, how we can restructure and reframe our identity, because the Buddha said, so many of the great Stoics said, our thoughts become how we color the world, said Marcus Aurelius. Our thoughts
Mhm.
become who we are. And I think what we're making a case for is for folks to really imagine this identity formation and really imagine that our identity encompasses so many aspects of us and is shaped throughout our life and can be readjusted based on a number of factors. And I think we're making a compelling case to say each one of us should sit down and really have an exploration into the
Mhm.
various identities that we have and
Yeah. And
where we might want to make a shift.
for sure. And I think what brings me back to, um, it, really cutting through all of this noise of shame, control, identity, fear of burdening others, it's actually very simple. And it boils down to this thought. We tell ourselves paradoxically that we think we're a burden to other people for all of the reasons that we've just talked about.
Mhm.
But we know exactly how good it feels when someone lets us help them.
Oh
And
boy.
that's what I keep going back to, is
Yep.
that helping someone gives us purpose. It strengthens our connection. It is an act of trust. So why do we deny others the chance to feel that too?
Well,
So this is, to me, this is a flaw. It's a flaw disguised as a virtue. I don't want to bother anyone. I'm self-reliant. It's a flaw disguised as a
oh boy.
virtue.
You know what? And we've been talking a lot about disguises. I say that squirrels are rats in cute outfits. That's a rat in a cute outfit. It's like, really? We talked about boundaries. Disguise. It's really exclusions. Recently explored and saw on full display someone that was saying, these are my boundaries. Boundaries are what works and what doesn't work. But it was really an exclusion of someone's actions and what gave them joy disguised as a boundary. And
Yeah.
that's bullshit. And so what you're talking about is, wow, that's it's amazing when you really pulled on that and brought that into full view about how good it feels to be there in space with somebody to help someone. it
Hmm.
just it does, but we deprive others of the
Yeah.
opportunity.
Yeah.
It's so funny because one of the deepest, most introspective, grinding times recently, I had where I was having this uprising of difficulty and introspection and standing and all this stuff. Recently, I had three employees, three in my organization.
Hmm.
Two sought me out and said, can I speak with you and shut the door. And one, I sought out. All three were struggling in ways that it was excruciating. I was in space with them,
Yeah.
genuinely cared, wanted to be there to support them. And it actually buoyed my soul. So you just gave me like a light bulb moment of one of the amazing ways to help self is to help others.
Think about what happens when we actually ask for help as well. The
Oh,
weight lifts,
yep,
like all of this resistance that I had in telling anyone what I was grappling with, and how just, that one phone call where, hey, I'm just on my way to work. What's going on? Well, I'm going through it. And here's what happened. The problem
wow.
shrunk, my thinking completely cleared, and our connection deepened because I revealed to her something that I was going through, and the isolation dissolves because I did feel really alone
Yep.
because I have a tendency to get inside my head. And I don't, as we had mentioned on an earlier podcast, like I have to sit down, I have to write about things, I have to process things.
Yeah,
And it sometimes feels it's a lot of solitude, and I feel isolated sometimes in trying to grapple with this by myself, when that isolation completely dissolves. And so when we stop relying on luck for people, to check in on us, we actually start relying on each other. And so I walked away in both of these instances that happened, thinking that this
mm,
is something that I fight so hard, and I don't know why I keep fighting it. And it's a reoccurring, it's
whew,
literally my remedial lesson in my life. And as we apply it to leadership, what we understand, in the same way that you were just there for people in your organization, and how you felt, and how they felt, both takeaways. And what it does is it builds trust and psychological safety within our organizations and within our
for
relationships. So
sure.
yeah, and yet it's still the thing
Kristen,
that, I keep struggling with.
yeah, and you know what? You struggle with it, we all struggle with it. And here's something that is so interesting is when you have a coalition, when you have people, my guess is one of the things that went on in your mind is, ooh, I could call this person, but they're struggling with these other five things. So hell, I don't want to burden them. Here's the
Yeah.
thing, fuck that. Trust them to say, you know what? I am not in a space to actually be here to support you. Okay, I want to tell a story real quick, right?
Hmm.
Um, because sometimes we don't know what to say, right? We don't know what to say. We don't know how to describe. Two things I'm going to say. One is uh, reach out and trust your people to be there for you. It might be a gift you're giving them to support you, even if you think in this inventory they're going through a lot of shit. So
Hmm.
forget it. Trust them as adults with voice that can say, I want to be here. I am here. I have the capacity to be here. So that's your first
Right.
kick in the ass. Second, I want to say sometimes people don't know what to say. Leaders struggle with this. When I was 13, my dad died. My dear friend, I will just call her, I don't know, give her a name because I don't want to name her because she'll sound
Penelope.
like a monster. Penelope, I was walking in the grocery store and I looked down the aisle just after my dad died. Poor guy, 41 years old, right? Bullshit. He he had just passed. I saw her, very good friend. We locked eyes and then she skirted away and I couldn't find her. Well, in those days we had a phone. Doot, doot, doot. So I called and I said, Penelope, hey, I saw you at the grocery store. Why didn't you say hi? Where'd you go? She goes, oh,
Wait a minute. When you say
I
in those days we had a phone, you mean you had to go home and you had to rotary dial her? Is that what you meant?
maybe a push button. I'm not that old. Yes. Thank
Okay.
you
Beep,
so
boop,
much. I
boop,
had to
boop,
go
boop.
home,
Okay. Okay. And then
ride
you
my
called
bike home.
Penelope.
Boop, boop,
Okay.
boop. I said,
Okay.
Penelope, what the hell, dude? I saw you at the at Lucky's. What happened? Where'd you go? She goes, oh my gosh, I found out your dad died. I didn't know what to say. It was in
Oh,
that
yeah.
moment. I was 13. I said, fuck that. Even if I say something wrong, I will say something. You don't have to say it right, but how can I support you? Just be in that space. And a lot of folks where I've gone and visited my cops that have been shot and they're in the hospital and
Hmm.
I'm there, I just say something, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to get bound up into say the right thing. So, what do you say about those two things that I just kind of offered?
Yeah, I totally agree, and I grapple with that. That I don't know the right thing to say all the time, and
Yeah.
also I have to fight the urge to go into problem solving mode, right? Like how can I
Oh,
fix this? And I know that I can't fix it. And then I get frustrated and then I say the wrong thing when the honest to God answer is you don't need to say anything. You just, as we know, you just need to sit there in the mud with these individuals,
okay.
and that's all, think about being on, when someone's on, when we experience that, when someone just sits and listens, that is such a gift.
Yeah. So, what do you say about the other thing that I offered? That's like you're probably going through an inventory of, okay, these people have too much stuff going on. I mean, what shift are you going to make? What kind of action are you going to take about reaching out?
Yeah, I do think about that a lot is why would I call anyone and burden them when they've got, kids and problems of their own and their own job and their own challenges. And I think I'm just going to go right back to what I had said earlier about it's this metaphor that someone told me one day, and it's about gift giving. When you I love giving gifts, and I like to pick out a gift, and you're a great gift giver. You give the best gifts and you're so thoughtful in your gifts. Imagine you pick out a gift for me that that I'm going to love. It's very me. It's fitting to my personality, and you give me that gift. You hand it to me, and then I say, "Oh my gosh, why did you do that? You shouldn't have done that." And it just
Mm,
completely stops the momentum when all you want when you give that thing is for someone to go, "Oh my God, thank you so much. I love it." And so we build a resistance there, and it's for all the same reasons. Oh my gosh, have I burdened you that you picked out this beautiful gift for me? And we rob the people who are
mm.
giving us that gift of the feeling of gratitude and selflessness by saying, "Here, I picked this out for you." We rob them of that feeling by going, "You shouldn't have done that. It was too much." And so I think of asking for help in the very same way, is
Okay.
that we are robbing people. And so I need to keep going back to that and to remind myself, me, that I am not a burden, that I am human, and that asking for help is leadership in action. And I have
Sure
to keep
is.
remembering that. And so I think our simple challenge for listeners is identify one person you trust. And I think I say this a lot of times on stage in my keynotes is, who do you call when you are about to jump off the bridge? Hopefully it's a proverbial bridge, but who do you call? So make sure that you have those
Yeah.
people in your mind. And then identify something that you're carrying right now and ask yourself this sentence: can you help me think this through? Whoever, comes to mind. And that's, I think, how we have to visualize it, is that it is a gift that we give them by asking for help. And
Yep.
I don't often think of it that way, so I have to turn it around in order. And then the other thing is knowing that we're not going to solve this problem overnight. And so I think those check-ins are still very valuable. The ones that are random and luck timed, where when you do know someone is
Ooh.
going through something, so maybe we do nudge them. And that's what happened to me over these last few days, and just nudging my friend, "Hey, how you doing? Buddy check. What's going on? I know you're going through it." And I happened to catch her at a very low moment. And
Ah,
so I think there's two ways that we can continue this momentum.
for sure. That coupled with really breaking down and diminishing, I don't do is diminishing right? Maybe diminishing any kind of sense that vulnerability and asking for someone's input, asking for someone to help you think through something, that's not vulnerability in a way that's negative. It is vulnerability in the way that it's brave. And so the fact
Yeah.
that you reached out at that time, I can't help but think that that was, I believe the universe conspires. And so
Mhm.
you were there for people that needed you. That's remarkable, and they trust you. And you didn't have to say anything specific, you just had to be there. And that's
Yeah.
really a gift that that person gave you, and you returned it in kind. by being there with them. It's really cool.
Yeah. And experiencing on both, like in 2 days time of experiencing
That's
on both ends,
crazy.
being the one who needed the help and being the one that just so happened to be there. And I think there's another important thing here about we actually need to learn to ask for help before the breaking point. And you take things to the extreme. We know that people are grappling with things that are so
Yeah.
deeply painful for them. And when you wait until you're overwhelmed or when you are consumed by darkness, we have to remind ourselves that we're not being strong, we're being avoidant. And true strength is
Totally.
asking early and not surviving late.
Yeah.
And that is a
Yeah.
big thing that we have to remember. And also maybe we replace the I should be able to handle this identity that you and I have. I should be able to handle this with something very simple like we're better together. Isolation is not leadership, but
Yep.
collaboration is. So
Yep.
those are two things that I'm going to take away. And I would offer that to our listeners. Just identify the person, identify the thing that you're carrying, and then just ask, can you help me think this through? You're not a burden. You're human.
That's a really good way to say it because it does give folks a safe space. Can you help me think this through? And then trusting if you are the receiver of that question and you cannot, then perhaps you just listen. You stay in
Yeah.
presence with them and or in space with them and you stay present. And if you really can't, or you can guide them to somebody that can, do it. Because a lot
Yeah.
of people seek professional help with stuff that has really gone down the road so far. They just need someone more skilled with techniques to help them think through it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
I love
sure.
it. I love it. I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. And then,
Yeah.
really, one of the things that we have to do is really sit with this barrier of I'm a badass and I can suck it up and drive on. It is not vulnerable or weak for me to ask the very question that you just asked. I love that. And I love this
Yeah.
because it's going to give folks permission to really have a deeper conversation with themselves and maybe journal about a new identity, right?
Yeah.
Or a new
I
way of
love
kind of
that.
engaging with difficulty. It's awesome. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
I love that. All right. Well, we're just going to land the plane right there because
Yep.
I think these are good lessons for us to take away. And I want to thank our producer, Ted Madden, who does a great job on this podcast, and Jake Zeman, the guy with his friends Fabian and Zoe who wrote the Hollow Bunny jingle. Hey, if you like our podcast, please subscribe, please like it, please review it, tell everyone you know about it. Follow us on Instagram, on Facebook, and you can find us on YouTube as well. And listen, bunnies, keep filling your own bunnies and keep adding substance to others. And part of that is asking for help a normal
Yep.
part of your life.
Yep.
Take care,
Yep.
everyone.
Bye, everybody.
When you look inside, what do you find? Are you content to fall behind? When you lose your way and you've lost your why, have courage and get ready to fight the hollow bunny. When the way ahead is covered in smoke and you're tired and scared and you're losing hope, you'll open your heart and your eyes to see a challenge and a question. Why not me? To fight the hollow bunny. And we all feel hollow sometimes, but the monsters are only in your mind. It's a tough pill to swallow, but if you're brave and kind, you'll be alright. If you fight the hollow bunny. When the challenge ahead scares you to death, you tame the imposter inside instead. To change the world, you've got to start small. It takes a leader to say, I don't know it all. And I know I'm gonna fall, but I'll pick it up and come back stronger. nobody. If you're tough on the outside but empty within, something's gonna crack, you've gotta start again.